Hello, dansa Patrick Mitsing nitsigasan giapsis nihio sigasan gua makwa sagaganan o chinia nanaskamun ni donig bibiskria. Our baby is crying in the background, and we'll probably have to go attend to baby real quick. Take.
wait. No, we're good.
We're good.
Thanks everybody. My name is Marrisa. I come from Soto First Nation, just a little town in Saskatchewan, and I'm so thankful to be here today.
Yeah, so first of all, I'd like to thank Selena for inviting us to do this video for your school division. She reached out to us, did a protocol, and wanted us to share a little bit of our story. She said it might be valuable for you guys in terms of your foundational knowledge and your learning. And so, you know what, Marrisa and I, we've been together for a number of years, and we went through a lot of intergenerational traumas, learning about ourselves, learning about our culture. And some people have found it valuable in the school division, to learn about these stories, these Indigenous people, about what they go through, navigating this world in Canada. And so, when I was young, my dad left when I was 4. My mom left shortly afterward, and so I got to experience the world of kinship. The way our teachings, where aunties and uncles, they kind of come in and they become like secondary dads and moms. They actually feel like they're your real mother and your real father. And so I felt that growing up, and I lived with a few different families. And I was really blessed, kind of, when I look back at it, because I got put into a family who was very cultural. Very first time, about 8 years old, I was in a household that spooked. I was in a household that spoke fluent Cree. They would speak a lot of Cree, Nihiwi Win language within the household, so I would hear it a lot. But they would speak to us in English because we didn't understand, but we would hear those words, and then slowly some of those words stuck with me as I grew up. Another cool thing about the family was they were powwow people. They attended sweat lodges, round dances, so I got to see and experience my ceremonies and experience that Indigenous way of life, that Nehio Mamte Nichigan E Bachita, that Indigenous way of thinking. And so I grew up like that. I became a dancer, a men's fancy dancer. I've traveled all over North America. And when I asked my family about residential schools, I heard the story that when the RCMP officers came to our reservations, our gukums, our Japans, had gathered all our children, and they went and hid in the forests so our children could not be found. And then when I look back at that and really think about that, I feel like we dodged a bullet, right? Because a lot of that pain and intergenerational trauma that comes from the residential school experience, we didn't get that within our reserve. And so I was able to, attend a lot of ceremonies. And if you go back to my reserve, Makwasagagan First Nation, you'll find out that there's still a lot of men with long hair, and they have braids. There's still a lot of our youth and young people my age who speak their language, the Nihiwi Win language, the Cree language. And there's still a lot of our people who retain the culture, who retain the knowledge of how to perform a ceremony. Mm-hmm. And that was such an amazing thing for me to look back and realize, that our community still holds that culture. Marrisa and I, we recently brought a baby to the world, and so baby is calling us right now. So bear with us as we make this video.
And we're back with the baby.
Stay tuned to somewhere in this video we're going to tell you baby's name and the story of baby, so you'll want to stick through till the end of this video to get that. So when I look back at my family within my community, especially like my family, there's a lot of laughter. There's a lot of joy. There's a lot of camaraderie. There's people support each other within our family, and it's really a tight knit family. We call each other often. We talk to each other. We laugh. We have memories together. It's such an awesome dynamic that residential schools didn't come in and ruin that, because we've talked with a lot of people who've been in the residential school. Uh, they were affected by it, that that family dynamic is so different. And so when I met Marrisa, my wife, I got to meet her, and I realized that her upbringing and everything that she went through was totally different, complete opposite than mine. The only thing we could really relate on was the effects of the Indian Act, and all that, how that really challenged our people, right? And that created a whole other area of generational trauma. So Marissa, why don't you talk to them about your upbringing a little bit and how that was different from compared to mine?
Mm-hmm. So both my parents are residential school survivors, my dad and my mom, and very, very different from Patrick's family situation. My parents still struggle with healthy ways to deal with the trauma that they still carry, and that looks like alcoholism and addiction, and that's kind of the chaos that I grew up in when I was younger. My siblings and my house was very, very chaotic. And a lot of those traumas, I guess, my siblings and I, we picked up. And with Pat's family, one of the things that we noticed right away was they laughed together. And that was just not a thing in my home. My home was very serious. We were very strict. We didn't grow up with ceremony or even knowing what that was. I think maybe one time I may have went to one when I was younger, and I don't really, really remember the whole thing. And it just, the difference is huge. And I would say that me and my siblings also didn't have tools to really cope with a lot of those things. And the more that, Pat and I sort of grew together, understanding how to sort out, even emotions or boundaries, or to even identify them was a really, really hard thing. And something that we learned together. So when me and Pat started dating, powwows and ceremony was so foreign to me, and it was really emotional, because it was one of the first times that I was really connecting with who I was as an Indigenous person, and really felt like my heartstrings being pulled, and I was always really emotional, and I would say that was probably the beginning of a healing journey for me.
Mm-hmm. And so here we were, kind of colliding together, and we started a family. We struggled a lot, and we didn't know why we were struggling. And it wasn't until the news of the TRC came out that we realized, that our people went through all these traumas, and we were kind of starting off coming out of that. And so, a lot of society in Canada, that are non-Indigenous, they got a lot of support to become Canadians and to thrive within our country here in Canada. A lot of the land was opened up for farmers to come in and create millions and millions of dollars for their families and have a really good start for all their children. And we didn't have that. We were starting just coming out of the reservation, torn with a lot of traumas from the Indian Act and from residential schools. And when that news came out, we were able to start kind of learning about why we were struggling so much, mm-hmm. right? And, Selena talked about, what is the importance of culture and traditions within community. We realized that our identity and who we were as an Indigenous person was our path we needed to go for healing. And so we decided, at first powwow was our way of learning.
Mm-hmm.
And because at a powwow, you're going to see elders and they're going to be talking in their indigenous languages. You're going to hear the drums and you're going to hear the singing, and you're going to be around, people who are positive and people who are also healing. And so we could share stories and we could share knowledge. And now all of a sudden, we were really putting this powwow world as our university, because when we think about the school system now, our indigenous children, they go to school to learn how to navigate this westernized world, this westernized way of thinking, but they're not learning what it is to be indigenous. And so us as parents, they have two schools they have to go to. One, they got to go learn, math, science, biology, chemistry, all that knowledge that they give in the school, but they come home. Now we have to learn, our natural laws. We have to learn our spirituality, our ceremony, our Cree language. So they have this struggle of having a double load on them with their learning. So it's really important that within our community we have those opportunity for us as a family, and a lot of Indigenous families who are now saying, I want to learn what it is to be Indigenous, to have those opportunities to go ahead and learn that stuff. And for us, we have a stronger weight on this side than the schooling system, because we're at a place within our culture where a lot of our ways are dying. A lot of this knowledge is going with elders when they pass away.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very important for us and our family to learn this way before it's lost, before it's harder and harder to get that information.
One thing that we know is that we've learned from my parents is, they're so scared to teach us. They're scared to teach us, language or ceremony or culture, just because of the way that they were forced to abandon it in the methods that they were forced to abandon it in. So, approaching these people who are healing and who are still kind of figuring out, how to be okay with being who they are, even now in their older age, as elders, and that is one of the things that we're really careful also trekking into. But with that ceremony is still so healing. The ceremony part is so vital to the healing as a whole.
Mm-hmm. So now when we look at us as a family, we're so much different than our parents, because our parents had to go through all that struggle with, they're coming out of the treaty signing and all the traumas that happened with that. And we're coming to a place of healing where, now we're allowed to learn our language and speak our language. There's some pride in it now. Lots of pride in it.
Yeah.
And to be Indigenous, back in the day, you were taught being Indigenous was shameful, but you were also taught in a white school that Indigenous people were shameful and their ways were shameful. And so there was two nations right there saying that Indigenous is shameful to be. And so we hid that, and there's still a lot of people that carry that trauma of really putting it out there, hey, I'm Indigenous. But for us and the families that we've worked with and the families that are around our area are really taking that opportunity now to learn about the sweat lodge, about the sun dance, about the chicken dance ceremony, about powwow,
About birth,
about the land and the medicines and hunting and living off the land and having a relationship with the land. And for us, that was our healing.
Yeah. And it's so hopeful, and it's so encouraging to see more of that being integrated within the school system. I mean, I feel like there's still a lot of work to do, but to see those and to have, highlight Indigenous identity and their stories really helps with that pride component.
And so you as the educator realize, how do you support your indigenous students, and how do you support the students who are non-indigenous as well, is to give them the opportunity to become more indigenous than their parents had. For our indigenous students, and for our non-indigenous students, teach them the truth. Right? When we talk about truth and reconciliation, the very first word is truth. Right? Let's talk about, how we got this land to become Canada. Right? The biggest inheritors of treaty is not us indigenous people. Right? It's the people who got the land and to utilize these resources. And so to educate our students on truth, and also give our indigenous students more opportunity to be indigenous than our parents have, then we're doing our great work that we need to be done within our school divisions. So with that, I want to say Nanaskaman, which is great, thank you. But I told you, stay to the end of this video. Our little baby was born. We were scared when we had baby, because baby went breech, right? It turned around, and we didn't know if baby would kind of go back around. Then eventually baby did go in the right position, and we were ready for birth. Marissa's water broke. We were in the hospital, and then they did an ultrasound. They realized he flipped over again. He went breech. And so they tried to shift him, then they shifted him correctly again. About 20 minutes later, they did an ultrasound. They realized he turned the other way, so he's doing cartwheels within Marrisa. And then, we finally got him in the right position, and we had an awesome, smooth birth. And we didn't have a name for baby. We were really confused. With our other kids, those names just came to us. With our beautiful baby boy here, 8 pounds, 1 ounce, we didn't have a name. So we went home and we prayed about it. And about a week later, Marrisa calls her Auntie Sharon. You want to tell her that story?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a ceremony in itself. Something that is now being sort of brought back. A lot of people, like us, with the birth of our other children, we never got to do this part. So what happens is, when a baby is born, all the women sit together, and starting with the oldest woman, they sit with the baby and they introduce themselves in their language. They say their name. They say, "My name is blah blah blah. This is who I am to you. You were born for the Nehio Nation," and they tell you just the beautiful things that the child will do, and then they pass them on. And each woman in the community, each matriarch, gets to introduce themselves. And traditionally, the Cree people, they were guided by the women in the community. And so that was a ceremony that we were able to do. And so the oldest woman that we knew, she did that. She introduced herself and her name, her Cree name, and she gave our son his name, and his name is
Beyasu Awasis, which is Thunderbird Child. Beyasu Awasis. So he got his name in a traditional sense, so that he'll be carrying that name. And the Thunderbird, is our great bird that we have in our ceremonies, the Sundance. And when it thunders out and it storms, they're meant to come down and clear the energy and make it good energy. And so that's what our Thunderbird child here will be able to do with that. So if you felt good energy knowing baby was in this video right here, that's him. That's baby right here giving you good energy, so you have a great, amazing day. And we want to say thank you so much for your time watching this video. Truly appreciate you for learning from an indigenous perspective, right? And taking that within your teachings and sharing it with other people as well.
Hey, hi, thank you all.
Thank you.